I don't know. What do I do with this crap?
John, we can go ahead and get started whenever you'd like.
Yeah, thanks. I'm just going to give it one more minute or so. Looks like there's still a few folks coming in. Okay, Lori, if you can just help me with the waiting room as we go here. I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I believe everybody should be muted. All right. So here we go. Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. My name is John Dodds, and I am the President and Chief Operating Officer of Kencor Elevator Systems, which is an American elevator group company. I'm also the chair of the NAEC Member Services Committee, and I want to welcome everyone to this first quarter town hall discussion of 2023. In the past, NAEC Town Hall series events were a series of dialogues with various leaders within the vertical transportation industry. These conversations focused on topics that have been identified by NAEC members as important and significant ones for their businesses. The topics for the town hall sessions have consistently been assembled from various sources, and today's topic is no different. Today's topic was the #1 requested topic from a recent all-member survey that was sent out to membership. Before I get into introducing the event, I want to thank our membership for being patient with us as we have needed to reschedule the first quarter event that was previously to be held several weeks ago. We had conflicts that arose with 2 of our panelists for that topic. We had to quickly regroup, reassemble a new panel, decide on a new topic. So as you can possibly see already, today's town hall is going to have a feel that is a little different from those that we've had in the past, if you've been a part of our town hall series of events previously. So considering the way in which these events progressed, the panelists haven't had a lot of time to put together individual full slide deck presentations and fully prepare in which they would have liked to. So we're going to try something new and different and attempt to make things a little bit more interactive with this event. So we're going to see how it goes. As a reminder, Member Services Committee is always looking for feedback on this series of events. So if you have any feedback in general, or if you have ideas about topics for future town hall events, please reach out to Lori Wolking, and she can be reached by sending an email to lori@naec.org. Today's topic is about safety and the key components of a successful safety program. Safety leaders from within our industry will take a deep dive into the key components of a successful safety program. They will focus on leadership commitment, cultural transformation, and process and results to teach you how you can implement a successful safety program at your establishment. An overview of the elevator industry's 9 safety absolutes and an update on the progress of the OSHA Alliance will also be covered. Before I introduce our panel, I want to provide a few updates on upcoming NAEC activities and events. NAEC's spring conference will take place April 16th through 19th at the Waikuloa Marriott in Waikuloa Village, Hawaii, and promises to be a great opportunity for members and their families. Registration is still open, so if you haven't registered yet, it's not too late. We also have 2 QEI classes coming up in May at the Elevator Learning Center in New York City. A QEI code update class will be held on May 17th. During this one-day course, you will learn about the requirements of occupant evacuation operation and how it works through multiple codes and what you would be undertaking during a Category 5 test on a traction elevator. A QEI prep class workshop will be held on May 18th. In this workshop, you will learn how to navigate code books, read questions, and decide which resources to utilize that will help you prepare for the taking of the QEI exam. You'll also have an opportunity to earn 8 hours of CE credits as well. Next Gen Conference will take place May 22nd through 24th at the Graduate Hotel in Nashville, Tennessee, and promises to be a great opportunity for the next generation of leaders who are stepping up to drive change and innovation in our industry. Lastly, registration will open next month for our annual convention and exposition, which is the largest vertical transportation show in North America. The convention will be held September 10th through 13th in Reno, Nevada. With those organizational announcements out of the way, it's time to move forward with our town hall event. Again, we want this to be an interactive event, much more than we've ever tried to attempt in the past. So please ask questions by utilizing the chat box that you can see at the bottom of your screen, or you can click on the reactions button at the bottom of the screen, raise your hand, and one of us will unmute you so you can ask your question. Just remember that you may need to also unmute yourself on your end once we unmute you from our side. As always, we're going to try to be mindful of everyone's time, try to keep the event on schedule, and wrap up no later than 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now I'd like to introduce our panel. First, Dave Smart is the Global Education and Safety Officer for NAEC. He works with the NAEC board and staff to manage and evaluate policies and procedures for federal, state, ASME, QEI, and OSHA for elevator safety. David develops programs for compliance and provides our members with OSHA and code consulting training and assists in setting up apprenticeship programs with the NAEC CET and CAT programs. In addition, he works with ASME code committees for the safety of the elevator industry and provides training for QEI, technical, and safety, and organizes continuing education content and training for renewal for licensure for states, QEI, and the CET and CAT program. Next on our panel is Ray Downs. Ray Downs has been the TEI Group Senior Vice President for the past 10 years and has over 4 decades of experience in environmental health and safety, human resources, and project management. He has worked for Tishman Construction Corporation, an AECOM company, Otis Elevator Company, a division of United Technologies, Schlumberger Industries, and General Motors. Ray joined TEI Group in 2012 and is responsible for the management system, budgeting, hiring and training, and development for all aspects of TEI's EH&S programs. He is dedicated to advancing elevator safety, not only at the corporate level, but through the vertical transportation industry. Gabriel Maldonado is currently the safety director for 3-Phase. He has 16 years of experience in the environmental, health, and safety field, including compliance and site security. His resume includes companies such as Waste Management, Commonwealth Environmental Solutions, Chiquita Banana, ThyssenKrupp Airport Systems, TKE Elevator, and 3-Phase Elevator. For many years, he managed corporate safety compliance for TKE US and overseas territories such as Central America, the Caribbean, South America, and in Europe and countries such as Spain, Italy, and Austria. Many of his functions included manufacturing safety, DOT safety, and field safety in construction, delivery services, and field elevator ops. It's great to see the 3 of you Thank you for taking your time to join us today, especially considering the tight timeline that we gave you as it surrounded pulling the event together. So Dave, if it's okay with you, I'm going to turn it over to you so you can get us started. Please don't forget to unmute, Dave.
Just got the approval. Good afternoon, everyone. Appreciate you all showing up. I'm going to share a PowerPoint that you all can follow along with. Again, this is just something we threw together really fast, just to give some kind of guideline. But again, we prefer to answer questions if you can give them to us. So let's make sure that Ray's unmuted and that Gabriel's unmuted as well. And I'll share my screen. Okay. So welcome to the town hall, being presented by Ray Downs, Gabriel, Malandando, and David Smart. So Ray, if you want to jump in, I'll let you go ahead and I'll start powering the slides.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to answer any questions that you may have pertaining to elevator safety programs. The presentation that you're going to see was put together by the panel, hoping that these are some of the concerns that you may have regarding your safety programs in your companies, and hopefully the answers we give you will be answering the questions that you give us. As you see here, you got the 2020 revised safety handbook, and the safety handbook was revised by the NAEC and the NAEC safety committees. And I'm going to ask a question to all those who are on, the participants. I hope everybody has copies of this. If you don't have your own internal field employee safety handbook, and you have distributed that out to your field employees as well as your managers, and use that as your guidance for your safety program. So Dave, if you can give me some sort of an idea if that's a good question, not a question, but a feedback from the 42 participants, we can go from there.
Okay. Well, I will let you know that they're starting to put a panel together for the renewal of the next edition. If you're interested, get up with NAEC. They've already asked us. I'm sure Ray, they've contacted you guys as well. Yep. Gabriel, do you have any comments on this? And if so, speak up.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
I was trying to unlock myself. Perfect. Yeah. No. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, with the new revision, there's going to be more focus also on the areas that right now are creating more injuries than we would like to. So a lot of the changes that's going to happen on this safety handbook will address a lot of the concerns that currently can be trained as part of our safety program. So I'm looking forward to see it.
Yeah, but I think they're going to start adding some more MRL in it as well. So,
Hey, Dave and Ray, there's a question about what's the revisions?
The revisions in the handbook are a number. If you take a look at page 2 and page 3 of the handbook, the elevator industry's field employee safety handbook, along with the NAEC and the NAEC safety committee, have now adopted the 9 safety absolutes as our industry safe best practices. They start with fall protection, and we're going to go over some of these today, and they end with number 9, hoisting and rigging. The 9 safety absolutes have been the cause of 85 to 90% of all elevator industries throughout the United States. That's why both safety committees have given these topics high priority, and also they match the OSHA top 10 violated standards for the last 10 years. So a lot of the things that are in the field employee safety handbook are surfacing around the 9 safety absolutes. And I think what's going to happen, according to the Alliance, and we'll get around to that in a little bit, is that eventually they'll become best practices for the entire country. Am I correct, David?
So yeah, currently the OSHA Alliance has built the best practices around the 9 safety absolutes. They're hoping to have that segment done in the next 6 to 7 months. They're pretty much mirroring what NAEC did. We'll get into that with the safety absolute sticker, and everything's being revised to meet what the OSHA is giving us guidance on what they want to see. Another product out of the OSHA Alliance that you all are able to receive at this time as a finished product is the OSHA 10 and hour for general industry and for construction, which all PowerPoints, handouts, and everything. OTIs sanction them. It's available on our website as well as many other partners' websites. The Elevator Workers Preservation Fund and from NAEC. So it's all available on their websites as well. Also, the OSHA 30 hour as far as the construction and general industry are also available. And again, these are all elevator specific to our industry with slides of elevators and centers around what we do, not other trades. Again, if you have an OTI instructor on staff and he gives those, and you'll get your 10 or your 30 hour card. If you don't, you can use and pick and choose and use those as training modules for within your own company if you like. I don't know, you want to add that, Gabriel or Ray?
Well, Sal, hopefully that answered your question. If it didn't, just, buzz me again, or, again, if you raise your hand and I can unmute you, and you guys are more than welcome to expand on the question. Dave, I do have one more question that came in before you move on as it relates to the safety handbook. And the question is, are there plans to update the Field Employee Safety Handbook to include instructions for testing the ladder electrical device on retractable ladders and the censored non-retractable ladders per the A17-1-2022 B44 codes?
I would want to say yes, but what I would say is if people are interested in seeing certain things added to this book, if they could email myself or Ray or Gabriel. I know I'll be on the committee and I can introduce it. So if you have, that's a very good question. If you can submit it to me, I'll make sure it gets addressed into the committee's work. Or you can do Ray on that as well.
Dave, I would like to add to that, John and Dave, that yes, what we would ask you to do for those concerns that you have that are not in the manual presently, send them to Dave, myself, Gabriel, or John. And yes, as we meet as a committee, which we are going to do, we can bring those topics up. Now, if it's an ANSI code concern, it may fall back on the ANSI portion to put it in ANSI standard versus it is for a Field Employee Safety Handbook. So we'll let all of the decision makers overseeing the handbook's revision make that decision. But one way or another, John, take the question and we can get back to the person who asked it, and hopefully we can guide them in their concerns.
Richard, hopefully that answered the question. If not, just let me know and we'll circle back around. I also put Dave's email in the chat if you guys want to follow up with Dave or anyone else later on. Sorry, Dave, I'll let you continue.
No problem. Note for lawyer, Phil Isaac's trying to get in to the, so he might need some help with that.
He's here. He's here.
Okay, thanks. Okay, Gabriel, do you want to start off on this one and talk about this slide?
Like, it's not looking clear on my computer, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll jump onto it. Basically, OSHA is doing a national stand down day for fall protection. I'm trying to see the week. I'm not seeing it on my screen.
It's May 1st through May 5th.
Thank you. May 1st to May 5th. There it is, 2023. They're trying to get everybody in the country to recognize it during that week and to spend some extra time training for the stand down for fall protection. Do more toolbox talks around that activity. Take a break at times during the day to talk about it. I'm sure some of the larger job sites are going to probably do a stand down, have lunches. And we're hoping everybody will participate to bring more training and notice to the fall, because that is one of the more significant accidents that we have, that violations and people are getting injured and killed with. Ray, anything to add to that?
Yes, I would like to say that the stand down is pretty, it's a great event sponsored by the Department of Labor, OSHA, on their National Stand Down Day. But also in our industry, with the new body harnesses that we use now, lifelines, we have retractable harnesses, barricadings, so forth and so on. It's a good opportunity for our industry just to take a deep breath, participate in the week. If your companies do not have anything ready to go out, let us know. Maybe we can help you with that. A toolbox talk is perfect, just so guys get an opportunity and girls in the field, male and female, to take a break, make sure they understand the fall protection on top of the car and maintenance, as well as getting in and out of a pit and on new construction and modernization job sites.
Okay, I'm going to move to the next slide. So just in case people do not know what the 9 safety absolutes are, we're showing them here in order. And we've also referenced it back to the safety handbook and where you can find it in the safety handbook. Does anybody have any questions on these 9 absolutes? I'm not seeing any. I'll move on. Gabriel, do you want to add, or Ray, just jump in before I slide?
Well, one of the things I would like to let the audience know is that the 9 safety absolutes are in order, from 1 fall protection to 9 hoisting and rigging. And Dave and I have been instrumental with the NAEC Safety Committee, trying to make sure that everybody throughout the United States make sure they understand that number 1 is fall protection. It's the most cited violation for the Department of Labor for 12 years in a row. Electrical safe work practices, we go down to jumpers, defeating safety circuits, all lockout, tagout programs. How about mechanical stored energy? So all of these are highlighted in the Field Employee Safety Handbook, but I would ask you to read the preface in the safety handbook, because it's a supplement to your safety programs, but it gives you direction on exactly what needs to be done if you want to start a good safety program. These are the 9 topics to focus on.
And to add on to that, it's just not OSHA, it's also all the safety partners, from the IUEC, from the Workers' Preservation Fund, to NEEP, to ESA, to NAEC, and to NEI, and the OSHA partners. Everybody recognizes this in that specific order. So we should be aligned in the whole industry on this.
And Dave,
That's the whole thing we're moving towards, is everybody coming in alignment, that we recognize and we work together on all these.
And Dave, I would also like to add consultants are also in tune for this, and our vendors. Our vendors are now understanding which is 1 through 9, and you may see some stickers on their materials coming out highlighting the fall protection or whatever it is needed for their product.
Yeah. One thing we do as NAEC that we're trying to do, and we're going to have at our fall convention, we're going to set up a panel discussion basically on how we've reorganized the 9 absolutes. We've updated the material, and one of the things that we have done, and it's now showing on our website, there's a separate barcode for each one of the 9 absolutes that the vendors, when they're selling a product, are going to take that and put on their shipping boxes. So if you have any questions or you need some help to remember something, all you got to do is barcode, scan it with your phone, and that'll take you right to that 9 absolute on what you're working on. But we'll do more on that in the fall.
Dave, question from the previous slide. Actually, my apologies, I missed it. What is a cask helmet?
So a cask helmet is it's the rock climber style helmet instead of the full brim that we're used to. It seems like there's a move in the industry, in all industries in construction, to provide that, because they're finding that more people should be wearing them all on the construction sites, because it gives you better protection if you just trip on the floor and hit your head. They've had a lot of injuries on major industries, and they're wanting to move in that direction for that style helmet. Does that answer the question? Ray, did you want to add anything to that?
Yes, the casting helmet is a head. It's a deflector. It's a head protector, where our normal hard hats basically can deflect, but these have insulation similar to a football helmet that the pros wear, to make sure that if you are impacted with something falling from above, you'll have a better chance on the neck and head area from getting injured. And a lot of the general contractors, I'm based out of New York City, are asking our guys to have them when they go on their job sites. So we have been buying them and giving them out to our new construction mechanics and helpers because it's a requirement to man the job.
Yeah, Ray, this isn't just New York, this is across the US.
Okay.
Washington,
Yeah.
DC, Florida, New York, California, they're all moving in that direction. Eventually, I think it's going to be mandated by OSHA. That'd be the only type. It's not there yet, but I could see it coming up in the future.
I agree.
Gabriel, did you say something?
No, I actually agree with you. I mean, this is a common trending, and it's becoming more and more popular. I mean, it has its advantage, of course. I mean, it also helps you in case of a fall. As you can see in the picture, it actually protects the back of the neck, and it has a lot of value to it. So I think as the trend to keep growing, most likely almost going to be best practices, and it's becoming like that right now.
Okay. All right, I'm going to move on.
Gary Holtzman had a question, I think, Dave from Champion here. I don't know.
Okay.
I just got a chat coming up.
No, it's just a link to some material that we've been discussing for the group.
Okay, no, thank you.
Okay, the next slide I have is on the focused 4. We've been kind of dancing into that with the first 9 absolutes. Again, the construction part of this says fall hazards are the primary, caught in betweens, struck by hazards, electrocution hazards. Again, fall hazards in our trade, if you they are there and they're high in our injury list, but the caught in betweens are the ones that really kill people in our industry. And it could be because of a fall down the hoistway to the side of the car and the car takes off. So we just wanted to make sure everybody had any questions about the focused 4 that we could talk about it, but we want everybody to be aware of those. Gabriel, Ray? Nothing? Okay.
I agree. Struck by and caught in between have been the biggest ones that we have had in my company right now. So I would think that all 4 of them are top priority. And if everybody focuses on them, hopefully minimal injuries and incidents will take place.
Okay, just want to touch up again on this slide. Where can you find information on fall protection? NAEC has a lot on our website. You can contact me. I can get you in directions. Industry educational material, the NEET program, the CET program, they all cover it pretty well. The elevator industry field employee safety handbook, OSHA standards, you can go online. You can look them up in books. Your company safety manual should have all of this and then all the above. So I guess I should have asked the question, which one should you be using? And the answer would be all the above. Sorry, I forgot we were getting into the question portion of it. You guys want to add anything?
Nope, you did it all.
Okay.
Yep.
So Gray, I'll let you take off on this one. I'll let you narrate this one.
Should fall protection be worn at all times when there is a fall hazard of greater than 6 feet and a 12 by 12 opening? I would think that everybody online, all the participants would agree, yes. But where does that start and where does it finish? It's just not a new construction greater than 6 feet. How about when people are working on top of a elevator inside the hoistway for a maintenance function, and you got a multi-bank hoistway and you stop the car electrically by locking and tagging out live, dead live, and so forth, and you have separator beams and you have cars on left and right. So we also have to recognize that fall hazards exist in maintenance as well. And not a lot of companies look at the maintenance side of the house, especially when working on top of the car inside the hoistway, that there is a fall hazard. But the standard clearly says or tells you greater than 6 feet. And I would defer it to Gabriel and Dave. It doesn't matter what department you're working in, correct, gentlemen?
I'll let Gabriel, because I'm going to add a little twist to this, but go ahead, Gabriel, first.
Yeah, actually, for the construction standard, yeah, 6 feet is what is required. But let's go look at general industry, because general industry actually has a different number as well. They actually add the 4 feet. So that makes a huge difference. You always need to recognize whenever you're doing your work and what of the standards you fall in, right? Either general industry will reduce the minimum distance to 4 feet, or if you are actually in construction, will adjust it to 6 feet. So
Yep, if you go to marine, it's 2 feet. So
correct.
one of the things I was going to bring up that we're working on right now with the OSHA Alliance, we asked OSHA to give us a ruling on that 12 by 12 when you're on a car top, and we were unable to find it. Basically, there is nothing that says 12 by 12 when you're in a hoistway on a car top, but what it does imply and what it does say is any kind of tripping, foot catching, ankle breaking, or anything in that area, you need to have developed a safety around that. So we're still talking about that and we're still trying to work through it. But where I had always thought that if you had a 12-foot or more, or I'm sorry, 12-inch or more, then you had to have the needs for fall protection. But it's actually, it could be 2 inches or 3 inches, you can get your foot stuck in it. And then you have to have some kind of precautionary training and something to prevent that from happening. So again, we're still working on that within the OSHA Alliance. So we'll keep you up to speed on as we get the answers.
Hey, Dave, question about fall protection, fall restraint from the group. So if you have more than a 12-inch gap between the car and the the outer wall of the shaft, how do you use fall protection when running the car on inspection?
So right now, that has not been finalized. There's lots of discussion with the OSHA Alliance. One of the things we talked about is having a restraint lanyard, if that would be, but then again, as we've told OSHA, it's a greater hazard in order to have that strap floating around, getting caught on brackets or door locks as the car is going up on inspection, or getting caught in shivs. So again, that's one of the huge sticking points we're working with OSHA on. And it's right now in the realm of trying to educate OSHA what the real dangers are for the elevator people, because they're not consistent with other trades. So that's still up in negotiating and being discussed. There's been no resolve to that yet.
I would like to add,
Go ahead, John.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, and Ray, maybe I just talked over you. I apologize. I know this isn't feasible in all situations, but mitigation is always an option, right? By
Yes.
doing railing.
Guard railing helps a lot, but in some cases, as you're well aware of, you can't always use guard railing. And then also, it becomes in the fact that the older equipment, who's going to pay for that? The building owner rightfully should, they own it, but they say they're not there and you've taken care of it. So that's another whole quandary in itself that, we're talking through.
what I would like to add, John and Dave, on this is a couple of things. Usually you would not wear fall protection when you're moving the car. When you stop the car, it becomes a working platform, if I'm reading the standards. And one of the things that I would like to just make sure everybody understands is that the outrigger that you have on some of the older units is not considered a barricade because it does not meet the top rail or mid rail standard. And if we go back into the elevator industry many, many years ago, the outrigger was installed because it was a deterrent on the counterweight on the back of the car. So what I would suggest is once you have the task in hand and you stop the car in the hoistway, there are a number of things that our field mechanics can do. They can use an anchor sling wrapped around the crosshead and a fall restraint, which is only 3 feet in length, so they can never move off the car or be hit by an oncoming car adjacent. So there are things we can do to mitigate, John, and or at least try to reduce the risk while on top of the car. And the JHA to make sure that you have your proper tools and equipment and so forth. And when you do take control of the car with the stop switch and the inspection switch, tested and verified, at least you know you got control of the car. But the one thing that I always tell our guys, and I would pass this on to the rest, is that you don't want to fall off the top of the car. So the protection that you take must at least meet the minimum requirement that you cannot fall off the top of the car.
So to add to Ray, JHA, it sounds like OSHA is really leaning more towards us doing a lot of. Again, what we'll be looking at in the future, but JHAs are a big proponent. There is suggestions to the code committees that are looking at, I don't know if they're going to come up to 2022, but there's been discussion of having the car automatically slow down when you're on a car top, on inspection, coming near the counterweights, also having lights and alarms, and then maybe stopping, and then you have to reacquire it, and when it starts to move, it goes at lower speeds. There's all kinds of recommendations that the code committee is looking at to try and help mitigate awareness in the hoistway and when you're traveling on inspection on the car top to prevent you from getting hit from the counterweights or when you're getting close to the overhead or an obstruction. So those are things that code committees are looking at as well. Gabriel, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I actually agree with Ray. I mean, sometimes in these situations, you need to come up with solutions that will need to be creative. And it's not necessarily following a standard, but more of how I can keep myself away from any fall hazard, how I can restrain myself from getting closer to the edges. And I think something you mentioned, Ray, is good. I mean, you can do a strap and do your fraud protection. So at least while you're in control of the car, you are actually restrained, and it will protect you rather than creating another hazard in case of actually dropping a whole line, right? Safe line. So keep in mind when it all depends on the equipment and the setup. If sometimes you can do it that way, right? Some other ones you might need to look at anchor points or anything that you might be able to add to the unit. I mean, as of now, until that is defined under the new initiative, it's just going to be really into how we can, at least beside protecting you from the fall hazard, we can create mechanisms that will make us more aware of the situation so we can take action.
Yeah, and let's go on to the next question. Is it a good idea to always wear when on a construction job site? I will tell you, my previous employer mandated that the day you stepped on a construction site, you had to have your fall protection on until all fall hazards were eliminated. And that was what the company I came from did. And I think a lot of companies have moved in that direction. Ray, do you require your guys to have that on the whole time they're on the job site on construction?
Yes, one of the things I'd like to add to this particular question is simply this. In Elevator World's May edition, underneath reader's format, I wrote an article that is going to be published on fall protection. And this question is answered in that. Anybody that comes onto a construction job site has to have their fall protection on all the time. There are times where you can take it off. When you're going, obviously, to the bathroom, when you're going to a meeting, if you're pulling wire in a cab that's completely installed with no fall protection, if you're in the machine room where there is no fall and you got a door, so forth. But as soon as you leave the machine room, as soon as you get out of the cab and you're on the job site, both in modernization and new construction, we require fall protection at all times. The reason why the body harness and fall protection at all times was instituted back in 1993 was because Otis had 3 guys fall down the hoistway in less than a 4-week period in the Northeast region, which was my region. And Bill Miller at the time, who was the president of Otis, which is in the article, he mandated that. So he was specifically responsible for this particular process that is used pretty much around the country.
Gabriel, how about your company?
Yes, absolutely. We actually require it 100%, but I want to add to it that harnesses is one of the things that in fall protection that you want to wear them to get used to as well, right? So a lot of workers, if they take it out, sometimes they forget to put it back. So has a benefit of it is if you have it all the time, you get used to it, just it's part of your daily routine. So it's there 100%. You get even comfortable with it, and that's very important. A lot of in cases, I noticed that when people take them off, they lose them off, and then when they wear them again, they don't readjust them properly. So having them use them constantly through the whole construction process just ensure that harness is actually in place correctly, is worked correctly, and the employees are used to wear it.
I'll add to it that Dane Isley with Delaware Elevator, he decided that he was going to reach out and form a committee from the construction workers that were wearing them and lay out with the safety provider resources that here's a bunch of different harnesses. You guys try them on. You put them on. You tell us which ones you guys want to wear, which ones are comfortable to you. And then they all met, they all came up with one that they felt that they could wear. Some of these new harnesses have so much padding and are so comfortable. They're not like the old ones. So involving your people that are actually wearing them is a big thing. And Dane was really proactive on having their involvement. So if you're trying to get your guys to wear them, your girls, again, making sure that you have a harness that fits a woman, which is different than a man. That's, a new push. That it only makes sense. So having their involvement will mean that they will probably wear it more and follow the rules. Ray, would you have a comment on that?
I agree with you 100%. And with Gabriel, if it's on all day, you don't have to readjust it, number one. You get used to it, number two. We give out a body harness that is lightweight. It meets the federal standard because you have to understand if you have a heavy body harness on, a full body harness, you could have neck, back, and shoulder problems because of the weight you're wearing extra, and especially in the colder states and cities where, you got your Carhartts on, you got your insulates on, so forth, and now you got yourself a heavy harness on top of the Carhartt coat. You want to make sure that it's lightweight, but at the same time effective. And I agree, it should be worn all the time. And each company may have a different process on when you can take it off, but I would think that sooner or later it will be consistent around the country when the processes come out, especially when, as you were talking, Dave, with the OSHA Alliance.
Dave,
Okay.
before you move on from fall restraints, question came in. I think we all are aware of the disconnect with using a fall restraint over 6 feet, but we all also kind of know we're going to hit the ground, right? So because of the deceleration device, and so the question is the industry pushing for more use of retractables when the fall hazard is 15 feet or less?
So I would say we did when I was in the field. We tried to, especially if you're working around the bottom floor and you have like a 8-foot pit or a 6-foot pit, you're not going to be able to always have that right measurement or the right math, get down to a 4-foot pit. So retractables certainly met that need in multiple ways. You could do it on a car that you're using as an installation. You can put around a crosshead and kept you from falling. I know there is a move on it with a lot of companies. Again, this is something that the OSHA Alliance will probably be discussing more. It is brought up in some of the work that we've done about the retractables. Ray's, I know, talked about them in the past as well. So yes, I guess the answer is yes. We are moving in the direction for the industry for the retractables. Gabriel or Ray?
Yeah, it is the right direction. I mean, it adds so much benefit to it. One of them, for example, it works as a restrainer, right? When you're moving fast, they do activate. Their activation actually, for the ones we wear, they're about 3.5 to 4 inches of activation. So they do lock themselves in place. So they do provide a lot of benefit to move around and not have an actual traditional lanyard, going with you or getting tangled or anything like that. And especially when you're looking at short run, 15 feet, short fall, if they are set up properly at the right height, they do provide, they are a game changer. They actually provide a lot of more benefit than lanyard. So I'll definitely will say yes. Anytime you can go with a retractable in those situations, it just adds more value to your fall protection actually.
Yeah, the picture that's on the screen shows somebody getting hooked up to a retractable right there.
I would add there, Dave and Gabriel, and for all those participants online, just be careful. You don't want your guys not understanding that the pendulum effect can be very easily involving if the person falls and he doesn't realize that it's a downward fall, not one that he's got a retractable 10 feet away and he falls and all of a sudden it's swinging back and forth. So I would make sure, and I agree, it is going to be something that we're going to be going to, but we need training and we need processes so people understand the correct way to tie it off to them, to the lines that, the anchor points that they're going to be tied off to. So just a little bit of caution, but at the same time, yes, it's a tool that we are definitely going to be using in the future.
Okay, I'm gonna move on to the next slide unless you have anything else, John.
No, go ahead, Dave. Thanks.
Ray, go ahead.
This is a rather easy slide that we put together for everybody, and everybody I think knows the answers. The equipment must be certified and conform to industry and manufacturer and OSHA requirements. Compliant barricades must be installed at all hoistway openings with greater than 6, 8, or 10 foot of fall hazard in construction. Everybody knows it's 6 foot. What about when you're performing maintenance? Well, I told you that moments ago. If you're on top of the car, you still have to make sure that you're not going to fall off the top of the car when you use the top of the car as a working platform, because that's where the working platform comes in. So that would be something that companies are going to have to start looking at if they're not doing it. In my 33 years in the elevator industry, I have never heard of anybody falling off the top of a car. But if you take a look at the requirement of the 1926 500 series fall protection, when you have a fall of 6 feet or more, it doesn't say hoistway 34 floors up on top of a car. So I would like to, maybe if there's anybody that has any questions on those 3 things, Dave, to open it up to the chat room.
Anybody, John, in the chat room have anything?
No, not at the moment.
Okay. Gabriel, anything you want to add to it? If not, we'll go on to fall protection for the barricade requirements. I think everybody pretty much knows what your top rail is, 42 plus or minus 3 inches. Your mid rail is always 21 inches. Your toe guard is 3.5, 6, capable of withstanding a 200-pound force. And when we say a 200-pound force, that's, kind of leaning against or whatever. It's not a dynamic force. When we're running into it, you're going to exert a lot more than 200 pounds of force.
Right.
Use a little common sense when we're talking about these. Ray?
Yeah, I believe this is rather a pretty easy question and answer. These are your typical barricade requirements, but and it would be true. But the next question down, we're seeing general contractors here in New York City putting a top rail of 5 feet and 4 feet and the 2 foot, the 21-inch mid rail with the 3 to 5 toe wrapped around pearl weave. So they can meet or exceed the standard from the Department of Labor, and we're having the hoistways netted as well with pearl weave. So we're seeing a lot of things that are proactive from the general contractors in fall protection, and I'm sure that you see the same thing around the country, Dave.
Yeah, I was going to say on your pearl weave netting and stuff, you're seeing a lot more of that on the bigger jobs, the bigger contractors. They're actually doing your fronts and overlapping it to get your access behind the guardrail, keeping things from coming down the hoistway on people working in the hoistway. So there's a big move that I've seen over the last few years. Gabriel, are you seeing that on your jobs?
Absolutely. Netting is becoming more and more popular in new construction. In fact, in some of the contracts we added as a requirement as well. I have seen a lot of movement on from the GC portion on improving some of the barricades, because they do recognize that somehow the toe guard, the mid rail disappeared through the through the job phases. So more and more full enclosing is coming up. More of using the netting to protect our employees, but also to prevent people from taking those pieces of wood, the meat rail and the tow guard as well. So I think that's another trend we're going to continue seeing more and more improvement in terms of fall protections and barricades.
What about between the hoistways, Gabriel? Are you seeing that at all when the elevator contractors are working on 2 different cars in the hoistways? Are you seeing netting going up between the hoistways?
On their new construction, it's a hit and miss, but it's becoming more and more common now. In terms of maintenance, it's more popular, and we actually are pushing towards it. But quite honest, it's just a hit or miss when it comes to construction. It's becoming more and more popular, but it's not 100%. I gotta admit it's not yet.
So on mods, when they're doing that in the hoistway, are they putting it to be permanent, or are they doing that for temporary?
For the most part, they're actually leaving it for long term.
Yep. It's gonna say if you're gonna take all the effort and all the time and all the money to put it in, and then have to use all the labor to take it out, doesn't it make sense just to leave it? That way it's always covered for you in the future. Ray, are you seeing anything with that as far as
Yes.
mods go?
We're seeing the same thing, that they're putting it in the hoistways and they're leaving it in, Dave.
Anybody in
Hey,
the audience?
Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, Sal has a couple of comments. Sal, I'm gonna try to unmute you and see if you can jump in here and maybe make your comment or ask your question.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, guys. How's everybody today? Oh, no, I was just saying that when we're talking about fall restraint, I believe most mechanics or the service mechanics should have access to their to a harness and a fall protection when they need it, if they need it. So where I work with Pride and Service Elevator, I distribute that to all the service guys. Actually have the harness, the best harness. So just in case they do need it, probably on that counterweight side, if they're changing guide rollers or guide shoes, that's going to restrain them on the car top, and it makes them feel a little bit safer as well. And for those all the barricades and the fall protection you're speaking about on construction, that's actually a building code requirement for those heights that it does exceed OSHA's requirements. So that's all I had to bring.
Okay, thank you.
I'm enjoying the conversation. I'm learning a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I
Sal.
would like to tell Salvatore that yes, hey Salvatore, we've been giving out body harnesses for all our employees, and I recommend that all the companies online do the same thing. Maintenance has just a use for a body harness as well as testing, repair, M&R, new construction or mod. So everybody in our company has been issued and trained on fall protection, has been given the proper protective equipment in case they do have a fall, that they don't have to worry about finding one or asking for somebody to have one. And I would suggest or recommend that everybody do the same.
So I would almost be willing to bet TEI, Three Phase, Delaware Elevator, all those, they give a safety bag. Same thing with Kencor. I know Kencor does it. You give a safety bag, and I know there's a little bit of differences between what you give in service and what you give in construction, but both bags have the fall protection in them. You have jumper kits for the service where you probably don't have for the construction. You probably give them tags and wire so they can do it and have the log. But every company should be on the same page within the industry that you should be giving your employees a safety bag, whether it be construction or service. Am I correct, Ray?
Yes, and Dave, I can send to the NAEC our safety bag contents. We have a regular checklist that we go through for all of our equipment in our safety bag, and it's replaced at the beginning of the year on January for anything that's tattered or torn or worn out. And part of the field compliance assessments that we do in mid-year, right around July, we do the same thing. So yes, if you don't mind, I'll send a copy to you and you can post it for everybody to take a look at and hopefully go from there.
John, you do that, right? At Kencor? I'm pretty sure you do. What about you, Gabriel?
Correct.
Yeah, we actually switched to one bag. It's construction bag for everyone. We decided to go ahead and since we do have cross function within our organization, we have people that do service and then do repair or mod. We decided to just establish a one bag that actually works for all 4 line of businesses.
Okay.
And just like Ray said, we check it annually. Actually, every quarter we bring the bag and we replenish any material that they need in terms of what was in the bag originally, like gloves or glasses or anything like that. And we do inspect our bags as well.
Does anybody out there in the listening in do anything different or have something different that they do? Would they like to comment on? Seen anything, John?
Well, no, while we're waiting, there was one other question that came in around guide rails, but I also just wanted to mention to the panel, we're about 55 minutes in, 35 minutes left. I don't know how much more content you have, so I just wanted to give you a quick time check there. Actually, there was one comment real quick. Champion does provide personal fall arrest systems to all field employees. Question around guardrail systems was, how do you handle other trades working near the hoistway? A standard guardrail will not protect objects from entering the shaft.
And that's what we were talking earlier about the netting. A lot of the bigger contractors putting the netting in front of every opening and overlapping it. So you, like an electrician working on a scaffolding right outside your opening, and he drops his screwdriver, drops a handful of fittings and goes down the hoistway. The netting will prevent that from happening.
And you're not supposed to have any material stored within 6 feet of the barricades. And you're right, Dave, netting is what you would want to do so nothing comes down, and nobody works on top of us or below us. And if they do, then we have to meet with the general contractor, because you don't want anything coming down a hoistway on top of any of our employees in a false car or any situation. So that's something that you would have to meet with the GC to control immediately.
Yeah, just to reiterate that nobody on a construction site should be working within 6 feet of that opening. And I would almost push it back to 10 feet myself. And I would have that conversation with the general contractors to say, hey, that's a safe zone. That's an area that we need to keep people out when we're in that hoistway. Gabriel?
I agree. I mean, the main thing is here is keep any movement or any kind of operations away from the hoistway. So 6 feet is what we strive for. Netting. When we do false car, we have also the overhead protection as well. So we do add that as a standard for our operation: 6 feet clearance and netting. Whenever it's possible, also full enclosing. There are a lot of contractors that they actually rather go for full enclosing for multiple reasons. One of them is not only to protect ourselves, but the other one is to prevent employees from using the hoistway as their garbage disposal or shootout.
So Gabriel, we'll put you on the spot here. You said you use overhead protection when you're on your false cars. Do you run a lifeline down the hoistway and have your people hooked off that lifeline when you're doing that?
I don't.
Okay.
We don't require to do that.
So where do
Well,
they
we
tie
have,
off at when they're on the false cars?
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Repeat it.
So
when
where
we
do
the
you
false
have
car,
your
yes,
people?
We do.
Where are their tie off points for fall protection when they're on that false car?
No, we actually drop lines. Yes, we do. When we do the overhead protection, we actually drop lines as well, safe lines.
So what if that were to fall? What's going to protect the employee from being pulled up into the overhead of the protection? There's a big debate. That's why I figured, you opened up the box. So I figured we'd step on in it and see where we went from here.
I can add. I'll add to this. We drop lines in the hoistway, just like every company does in construction and in mod. We don't have our guys tie off when they're working on the false car. Working here in New York City and with the IOEC Note 1, until we have further direction from the Department of Labor and the mandating, I think that's going to be a very topic that's going to be talked about for a while. But we do tell our guys, if you're leaning out of that hoistway and you, for whatever reason, you're to be tied off. We have top rails, mid rails, and toe boards on all of our running platforms with 3/4-inch plywood gable roofs. And we've been doing that for, I don't know how many years. I've been in New York City, and it's been effective. So we'll have to wait, Dave, until that gets to the next level. And you and I both know with Gabriel, it's on the tongues of everybody right now.
OSHA Alliance is really hitting heavy on that one. We did learn that there is a vendor out there, and I'll go ahead and say they're a member of NAEC WordTech, that has developed a false car. It's called their version 2. It's designed to meet a full suspended scaffolding ruling and engineered that you can tie off right to the unit itself because it has the redundancies where it can't go down the hoistway. So that is something you can look at. OSHA looked at it when we were at our convention last year in Louisville. It's something that WordTech really worked hard on. And that is the only one I know out there right now you could tie off to the platform and still have your overhead protection. And that meets all the standards of OSHA. So that's something you guys might want to keep in mind and think about and look at in the future. Again, it is something OSHA and the Alliance is working on hard.
You're correct, Sal. Well, only because Dave, we saw the presentation the other day. It does have a safety on it, that V2 model.
Yep, the V2. So that's encouraging. We have people and engineers that are working for our industry safety and developing those new products that will truly be safer for our people in the industry and in the hoistway. So anything else on that? If not, I'll move on to the next slide. Okay, Ray, I'll let you start it off again.
Okay, this is just a repeat of what we've been talking about, so we can move on to the top one. When in maintenance and service, working on top of car, guardrails must be installed in compliance to OSHA standards, or fall protection must be worn. All we're seeing now in the new construction industry, part of our industry, is barricades are on all new cars. So that's something that we see as positive. If fall protection is worn, how would you achieve it safely? Anchor sling around the crosshead, a fall restraint, not the down-and-break lanyard. This way, you always make sure if you're working on the right, you tie off on the left. You're working on the left, you tie off on the right. So these are some of the things that are, I'm sure that most of the guys, everybody on the call here is understanding. As far as number 4 down or 3 down, ladders must be secured and cleated, foot in a position correctly at elevations greater than 6 feet. What we want to make sure that we're doing, and I don't know if those on the call are, we're going to the platform ladders, step ladder right now, where you can actually go 6 feet up and work and 8 foot up, only because on some of our general contractors, they have a lateral ass program that won't even allow you to use a ladder on their job site unless you have a JHA written approved and they inspect the ladder for use, and that's Turner. So
hey, Ray, let me jump in here. While we're talking about ladders, it was recently brought to the attention of the code committees and other people. NAEC actually received the call that some construction was having a OSHA review for general industry before the building was built. And when they started looking at all the plans and diagrams, they saw the pit ladder on a center opening door and told them they couldn't have that there. In OSHA, in general industry and construction, they have a rule that you cannot exceed 12 inches from stepping off a ladder to a ledge or a building edge. And it had minimum of 2.5 inches. So if you had a center opening door, the panel just in itself would say, I can't reach that ladder or reach that platform. So it looks like they've taken it up as a task force on the code committee. And in the future, you might be seeing more ladders on the wall that will actually act as a platform when come to fold up. So that's something we're looking at in the industry that we're going to have to look ahead to. And I can see a lot of them getting crushed, but of course they'll have switches on it. It'll have to stop the car when they're engaged. There is a new thing on pit ladders. I think in the 2022 code, it says it has to have safeties, and if you step on it or access it, it'll automatically push the stop switch or activate the stop switch circuit or a secondary circuit to keep the car from moving. And that's to prevent people who forget to push the stop switch when they're going into the pit. So that's something on ladders that we're going to be looking forward to in the future. So that's just an update there. Ray or Gabriel, you want to add to that?
No, I think you said everything right. The new ladder, where you, as you said moments ago, when you put your weight on it, it automatically engages the stop switch. But part of the safety absolute pit access egress, you would have to test the stop switch and the door lock independently before getting into the pit. So that's something for everybody on the call to take a look at, the access egress of the pit safely, and that will help them determine what they're supposed to be doing.
Gabriel? He must be busy. Can you use a step ladder to access an elevator pit? I think everybody kind of knows that answer. You have to use the right ladder for the right job, and a step ladder is not considered where you can step off of it to another surface. So, what steps should be taken to access the pit of a traction elevator? I will let you know that we're working with OSHA. I don't know if it's going to go all the way through. We're significantly way into the reviewing process that on a single elevator tractions, what we approached them on, using access as an alternate means of lockout, tag out. The reason behind that is a lot of people won't go up to the machine room 5, 6, 10, 20, 30 stories to do their lockout and tag out. So if we have an alternate means that they would use because it's close by, then that's something we should consider. And OSHA says there is something in their books called Tags Plus, and it might meet that description. So we've been engaged with the reviewers, subject matter experts, SMEs, with OSHA on this, and some higher people on OSHA. We've done diagrams, we've done processes, we've written things out, we've done JHAs on them, and we're in negotiations back and forth for them to get an understanding. And hopefully that's something good that'll come out of that, an alternate means using access.
Well said.
You got anything, Ray?
No, well said, Dave.
Gabriel?
Oh, well said. I agreed. I mean, that's anything that will make it easier for us to actually, or for the field actually to be able to access the pit without creating any movement and stopping any kind of movement will be great. I mean, that's a great option. A lot of our guys, when we do pit access, one of the issues that I actually constantly address is, hey, you need to do the proper pit access, doing lock and tag out. I know it might be very cumbersome having to go, all the way to the control panel to shut it down, the main power, but it has to be done. And if we can come up with any better solution and accessibility, it once again, it will add a lot of value to the, our safety program as a elevator industry.
Remember, the thought process is you're going down to empty a pit can, we're doing tractions right now. You're going down to get something out of the pit, clean the pit, check something. But the minute you have to do something electrical, you'll still have to go up to the machine room. You'll still have to do the lockout tag out if you're going to mess with the electric.
I agree.
Anybody in the audience? Is there any questions, John?
No questions. Just a comment that there is a product out there that comes out 36 inches via a linear actuated with a switch.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of members of NAEC suppliers that have come up with stuff. I think Smart Tech was one of them. I can't remember them all, and I apologize. But there's a lot of companies coming out there with some very good engineering features to help us be safer in accessing and egressing the pit. Gabriel, you want to take the next one?
Yeah, what about entering a hydraulic elevator pit? So what are the main challenges we found? I want to hear from the public of what are some of the challenges you get from the field when it comes to accessing hydraulic elevator pit. I'm gonna give you one. For example, how many of your units actually have a pit stand? If you're going to be working on them, on the actual hydraulic, you need to use the pit stand. How many of your clients have pit stands? Is that a challenge out there, and how you're addressing that issue? That will be my question.
I'm not seeing anybody respond in the chat on it. I would say that in my experiences, and especially the OSHA Alliance, this is one of the hardest ones we're going to be addressing, due to the fact that OSHA feels that the hydraulics is a energy that's above you. And we're trying to convince them you have millions of people riding a hydraulic elevator every day, crossing in and out that have no clue, no idea, and that there should be a process that we should be able to do. I know that some companies measure from sill to sill and do a 15-minute static, and if there's relatively no movement, that they feel that they can get down underneath that hydraulic elevator pit and do whatever they need except touch the hydraulics. If they have to touch the hydraulics, they need to land the car on type stands or some appropriate means. OSHA is not so much willing to agree to that yet. Again, a lot of this is educating OSHA, getting them to understand our industry and what goes on. When we did tell them about the millions of people that cross that threshold every day, and that energy is still there, it's making them think. And that's a good thing when we get them to pause and think. It doesn't mean they're going to make any adjustments or changes or agree with us, but at least we're having the conversations. I can't tell you which direction it's going to go. All I know is it is going to be an issue if they do come back and say you have to control that energy of the hydraulic before you can get underneath of it. Then we might be looking at engineering means, such as I know some companies have built some things that are energy goes into the rail, and it's just about how are you going to alter the equipment to make all this work. Ray?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I would like
Go
to
ahead.
add that this is probably one of the topics that everybody is concerned about, because you're talking about confined space entry, you're talking about mechanical stored energy, you're talking about electrical energy. We always thought that testing and verifying the door lock and the pit stop switch independently from each other, we can always go down into the pit. As Gabriel said before, not a lot of companies have pit pipe stands for the hydraulic pits. They never were left there. Otis had some on J bars, but by the time you get in, put the pipe stands in the springs, drop the car down, you're in the pit for more than 15 minutes. So this is something that the OSHA Alliance is on their plate, and we're struggling with this. I know with the NAEC Safety Committee as well as the NAEC Safety Committee. I do know that if you're going to go into a hydraulic pit, they're asking you to lock and tag out the unit. So then you come back to the pit, you open up your door, you get into the pit, but you still have no means of the mechanical stored energy. I know that there are some companies working on a clamp that will go onto the rail, and it will just position itself. So you do have 15,000 pounds of strength. If the car did come down, it would hit that and stop. You have rail grabs that you can do, but by the time you get on a ladder, put them up, you're in the pit more than 15 minutes. So this is going to be one that's still in debate, and I'm hoping that we can get some sort of clarity based on the NEI and the NAEC and the OSHA Alliance. I would like to see, Dave, this by the end of the year, and that would be a big push in the right direction. So everybody's doing the right thing.
I don't think that would be moving at the speed of light for some of the members, and I don't see that happening that quick. Again, we've been over a year and a half on just accessing a single traction electric elevator and accessing the pit using different means. So one thing is good news out of it. They understand now it is not an atmospheric hazard. They took a lot of data reports from different companies like Delaware Elevator and the NEI companies, and they gave them to NIOSH, and they kind of analyzed them, and they come back and they've agreed that, you know, it may not be an atmospheric hazard unless, of course, you're in one of the defined chemical plants or a host facility that has called it a confined space with atmospheric. That's a little different, but they're moving away from the atmospheric hazard for the hotels and motels and office buildings and things like that, which is good news. Any questions on the internet?
No, just to let you know, Dave, we got 15 minutes left. I know you got several more slides, so I don't know if you want to go to ones that are more important or just keep plowing through. Just let you know.
I'd say keep plowing through. They're all important, aren't they?
Well, one thing that we could do is we could send out the presentation, Dave, to everybody. And the questions that we asked here are great opportunities for those in the field to do some training on. The next question, are group locks allowed? And if yes, when would they be used? Of course, group locks are allowed. It's a company lock, a blue lock, however you want to call it. As we said in the overhead presentation, the personal lock protects affected employees, anybody that's going to be harmed in the way of the electrical component. And then the common lock or company lock protects the equipment and the public. So I think a lot of our guys use the group lock or the personal lock and they don't do the right one. The only thing that you can do is when you're out there testing and verifying your guys and gals out there that they're using the right equipment for the right application.
The only time a group lock should be used is if at the end of the day I'm leaving and I don't think I'm going to be the guy coming back, that I put the group lock on so the next day when the guy shows up, he can remove the company lock and then put his personal lock on. That's the way a group lock should be utilized.
Absolutely.
Simplistic. Gabriel, you want to
Agreed.
comment on that?
No, you hit it. I agree 100%.
So when we're working on electrical equipment, your best friend is your meter. That should be your first and foremost tool, I believe. That way you can try and verify. But in order to use it, you need to also have the natural fiber, long sleeve shirt, hard hat, gloves, the appropriate gloves for what you're doing in the rating. Ray, you want to dig into this?
Yeah, we give out an electrical, an arc rated glove. We give out fire rated sleeves, earplugs, safety hard hat, obviously, and safety glasses. And when the guys are throwing the main line in the off position, they stand to the side, they breathe out, and they always go away from the blow, and then they test and verify LDL. And that's basically the equipment that a lot of companies, I don't know, have and are giving out. But as far as the NFPA 70E arc flash standard, that's what they're asking us to do. If there's a anywhere 50 volts or greater, that you could become within 9 to 12 inches. So if you throw the main line in the opposition and you don't have the equipment and you're going to test your incoming phase 1, 2, and 3, then you could be putting yourself into an arc flash zone. So if you have the equipment on, it's only for the betterment. And that would be a great toolbox talk for everybody to get out, and or a test and verification in the field, just so you know that your guys are doing it the right way.
Gabriel?
I agree. I mean, test and verify is definitely the most important part of lock and tag out for sure. Using the right NFPA 70 requirement when you're doing any kind of testing or shutting down the disconnect. You want to make sure that you protect your employees. One thing I want to mention is make sure you know what kind of meter you have and what is your maximum voltage per rating. In today's day, we have different equipment, and you want to make sure that you have the proper meter for the right equipment. A lot of the industries are moving into 1,000 volt Cat 4. We have it's becoming more and more standard for a reason. It adds a safety factor. So just keep that in mind. It is a trending, and I think it's very important to recognize that as technology moves forward, a lot of these limits that we had before are going to be increased as they are right now, and more voltage is going to be, a better meter will be required. So know what you have. Always complete the loop for lock and tag out. Putting a log is not going to be sufficient ever. The best way to make sure a good lock and tag out is in place is make sure that unit doesn't have power. It doesn't have to power.
You bring up a good point, Gabriel, on the meter. Some of these guys use these old, I don't know if people remember Radio Shack, but a lot of them use those cheap, inexpensive, but that's what you're getting. It's not been tested. It's not been verified. You should be using a minimum of a category 3, if not the category 4 meters. And you want to make sure that that you're keeping up on the maintenance on them. Some of them require recalibration to be sent back. Mm-hmm. Your leads need to be you can get a hole in the lead and that thing could jump and shock you too. So you gotta make sure all the components that plug into the leads or into the meters are maintained, and if there's an issue with them, to get them replaced. Your meter's your best friend. It tells you when something's there or when it's not. So to me, I've always used that.
One of the things that I'll add here quickly, because the next slide 10 talks about arc flash, PPE, zero energy state. Fluke Meter has a basic training class that I recommend everybody go online, www.flukemeter.com. You open it up to the basic training. It's 6 modules. It gives you guys a better feel of the dial. It's a category 3 1000 volt that we give out on the Fluke Meter. It's $385. It comes, and all of our guys have to be trained prior to being issued a meter. So it's just an opportunity for you to have some really easy safety training on a meter and the dial. And if you go to the Ohms book, okay, or the Ugly Electrical Reference by Charles Miller, it tells you all about the 2002 edition. It's a great book to give your guys. It's only I think it's $10 a book, and it gives them a lot of opportunity to dive into that when using a meter, because a lot of the guys aren't familiar with the entire meter's dial.
I'm kind of a preference of Fluke. That's all I've ever used all my life. So I do like the Fluke Meter, and I do think they have one of the best video training out there that I've ever seen. So I'll agree with Ray on that one. Again, I think
talked about this, Dave.
Excuse me.
We talked about this slide, number 10 already.
Well, we didn't really go over for jewelry and metal or any
Okay.
accessories. I think that's huge. People need to understand, hanging jewelry, even watches and rings on the finger, they're a problem. Electrically and mechanically, you can get these things jammed up and caught. And I've seen so many pictures of degloved hands and degloved ring fingers. It's not pretty, guys. And then, seeing the electrocution due to everything swinging and getting caught into the controllers or into mechanical devices that are moving. I don't know if you have policies within your company. If you don't, you really need to have them. People need to understand is to save their lives. It's just not you being, hey, we're not patient canistas here. We're trying to help you and keep you alive. Would you agree with that, Ray or Gabriel? Any comments?
I agree. I mean, the actual equipment, for example, when you use your arc glove, it tells you in some of the instructions that you shouldn't be wearing any kind of conductive material like metal jewelry. It is actually one of our gloves. It says do not use any kind of a conductive ring. So you can use silicone or whatever. In reality, we're trying to isolate you from it. So adding any kind of conductor will not work on your best interest. It's actually going to create another hazard. So this is one of the most important policy. I will also add consider a lot of long facial hair to be also part of your policy. A lot of the mistakes that we actually probably don't consider is, hey, your hair is actually flammable, and if you are actually doing any kind of NFPA 70, it has some advantages to not have long beard where it can make any contact or anything, and actually work as a conductor and cut a fire as well.
Good point. I hadn't thought of that.
I never thought about that either.
Okay, I'm gonna move on to the next slide. Ray, you want to jump us off on the jumper policy?
Yeah, the jumper policy, for those that have a jumper policy, you have a bag with a number of jumpers in it. In here in New York, because we have so many different types of equipment from all different genres, we have 3 different jumper policies. Our jumper policy, we have a bag with 5 jumpers in it. We have 2 hook, 2 alligator, and a 36-inch 18-gauge fluorescent, all numbered from 1 through 5. In our new construction and modernization department, we have a jumper sleeve with 20 jumpers and 60 foot of 36-inch yellow reflective wires, and they're sequence numbered. And when you log them in, you got to log them out, sign in, and sign out. We also developed what you see on your screen is a testing jig. And this testing jig has 5 jumpers, 3 hook and 2 black hook, and it has magnets, and it sticks to the door. So when we're doing the testing, the guys with the DLB here in New York City can jump out various different components. And it's been tested and they've been trained on it. But the jumper policy, all I would add to the introduction of what we use is test and verification that the guys know what they're doing. The toolbox safety talk should go out yearly. You should make sure they only have the required jumpers in it. They got to know that they cannot leave a jumper on. The jumper bag is put on the machine room door, the toolbox or your key ring, and you count them before you leave the machine room. And if you have ever experienced a fatal injury in this area, it is devastating, not just to the company, but the social media that you get behind it. And that's one of the things I hope that everybody can avoid. And if you don't have a jumper policy, you can get a hold of Dave and the NAEC Safety Committee or call me up, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions offline regarding it.
There's multiple ways to achieve this, from construction to mod to repairs. I know that most of the maintenance guys or service guys have a bag they've been assigned with a set of jumpers with numbers on them so they can be tracked back. There's supposed to be a jumper log in the controllers, so anytime you've used them, they're supposed to be logged in by code. In construction, a lot of companies are taking and have tags, but they have long pink wires with knots in it. So they know at the end of the job, when they get ready to turn, all that has to be removed. That job hasn't been completed. Like I said, there's multiple ways. If you're not sure, just give me a call, give Ray a call, give Gabriel a call. Gabriel, you got anything? I think this is probably going to wrap us up here, John, but Gabriel, you got anything to add to this?
No, I'm actually with Ray. We do have a jumper bag where whether we actually have to make our own long jumpers because of how the setup of the elevator is, or whether we use the actual jumpers that come in the kit, we always use that bag to put the keys and put it at the door so you can never drive away without taking the bag, and that should click and remind you if you leave a jumper. If we ever need to leave a unit jumped out while we work on it, again, we try to use wires that are fluorescent, long enough, tie the ends, mark them, and lock them. So there's awareness in all the different ways possible to identify those jumpers if you are looking at that unit. So this is one of the things, this is kind of a pet peeve for us. It's not about using the jumpers, it's about using them correctly, responsibly, and making sure that when they're not needed, they're not in, they are removed.
Yeah, a lot of mechanics don't understand that they're responsible if they leave those jumpers on. And in some cases have shown us in New York that they can be held criminally responsible. So we'll make sure we control, we know where our jumpers are at all times. John, do you want to go on another slide, or do you want to kind of call it to an end here?
Yeah, I think maybe I'll just say we just have a few more minutes. I mean, if anybody does have any more questions, comments, we'll try to take them real quick, but we do want to try to end on time here, especially for folks who maybe have something else to get into. Just received a comment, guys, that the work that you guys did was great and outstanding, and possibility of maybe trying to allow some time in the future to finish out the
You have a hand up,
time
John.
here.
You got a
Yep,
hand
I'm
up.
gonna Justin, I'm gonna unmute you here, and then you're gonna have to go ahead.
All right, real quick. I do have just one question. We do the Field Employee Safety Handbook as our basis to our safety at our organization. And we have really good compliance overall with our mechanics, but how do you guys get your mechanics engaged? I mean, we do a safety meeting every Monday morning at the start of the week. We recap last week and go through more of that safety handbook. But how do you get them engaged other than just sitting there with deer in the headlight look on their faces every day?
So I'll jump in real quick on this. One way is to make them responsibly contribute. Put somebody as the lead of a certain program or a certain thing that you're trying to move in, and try and get them engaged as being part of the solutions instead of just having them read something or listen to something. Let them come up with ideas, have a safety committee, let them be involved in some of the decision making. And as soon as you do that, you'll see a lot more involvement and no more of that deer in the headlight. Ray, you have a suggestion?
Yes. Hey, Justin, just a couple of things that you can do that's really quick. You can put blasts out to all your guys. You can have your guys call in once a month, like we're doing here, and the managers just talk and see if there's anything that we need to worry about. Toolbox safety talks, although they have to read it, if they're current and not repetitive, we put a brand new toolbox talk in. Mike Claraci is in charge of that. He does a great job in updating the toolboxes every Thursday before we send them out, and they're current. They're not repeating. It's based on the concerns that we have as a company on a daily basis. And for those, John, that I know that we're going to be moving on, the last 12 slides to 20, we're introducing the 9 safety absolutes. So if those who are on the chat or participating want to have a copy of this, I'm sure you can send it out. And it basically gives you good points, Justin. You can use any of the slides that we had and send them out just so guys are on top of their games.
Yeah, Ray, what we can do is, and Dave, we can work with Lori, and we can get it put up on the NAEC website along with the recorded version of this. We can get that posted for everybody to go through. And one of the comments was that it might be worth trying to find some time in the future to finish out the rest of the 9 absolutes that we didn't have time to cover today.
Okay.
So we'll definitely keep that in mind. Thank you for the input. And again, out of respect for everybody's time, we're going to try to wrap this now, or call this, kind of the end of the town hall event. Greatly appreciate everyone that took the time in our audience to join us today. We kind of rolled the dice a little bit here, tried something a little different, little new based upon the circumstances that we had. And I think it went really well. So, Dave, Gabe, Ray, thank you for your time. Thanks for the efforts that you put forth for joining us and sharing your expertise today. And hopefully I'll see some of you guys in a couple weeks in Hawaii. But thanks to everyone again for attending, and we'll see you soon.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate your
Thank you.
time.
Thank you very much.